At Your End Step is brought to you by Comic Town and BCW Supplies. Hello.
Gotcha.
And welcome to At Your End Step. We're going to change our dynamic here a little. We're allowing a pranks cast.
Spooked you.
Spooked you. Yeah. Good job, Spaghetti. I'm your host, Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
Hey, what's up?
And Mike.
Spaghetti.
And we have a very special guest that we may or may not have alluded to on last week's episode, JP.
Hey girls, hey, how y'all doing?
And JP is obviously our judge extraordinaire here in the central Ohio area, as well as areas outside of that.
I was gonna say he's like in our area for like 3 more days.
Yeah, it's coming up fast, girls. It's coming up fast.
That's true. And JP has been on the show before, and we just wanted to kind of give him a bit of a send off before he went to Virginia and to join up with Star City Games. So. Yeah. It probably won't happen, anytime soon after this. So we just didn't want to miss a chance to talk with our, very, very well versed, judge, level 2 judge that has insights that we don't have on the game for anything like that. So welcome to the show, JP. Welcome back to the show, JP.
Thank you much.
So you want to talk about your new your new job, your new abode,
my new thing,
my
new thing, girl. Okay, let's break it down real quick. Okay, so for those of you who have seen me here in the Columbus area, most of the time you would see me not necessarily always on the floor of major events. You would see me up on stage, putting results in, managing a lot of what was happening on the stage, coordinating with the other judges to make sure things would get done. That's basically what I'm going to be doing for Star City. I'm going to be doing a lot of work behind the scenes. You're going to see me up on stage with the rest of the traveling Star City staff. If you go to an open or an SCG GP anytime in the future for the time being, because I'm going to stay there and be there for a while, but you're going to be seeing me on stage quite a bit at Star City events. And it's not just going to, that's where my job is going to mainly be. I'm still going to try to get out to other regional GPs as much as I humanly possibly can. So you're going to get to see me on the floor some, but mostly you'll be seeing me up on stage.
Perfect. That sounds like a pretty fun gig. It sounds like a pretty unique thing that you can kind of do within the Magic community and make a living out of. So, that's fairly exciting that we play a game that provides that opportunity to people.
Right. The term dream job's been thrown around about this. It's pretty close to my ideal profession. It's really weird that everything that I've done in and around gaming for the past... Lord, I've been volunteering for games for 10 to 12 years. This has all kind of prepared me to take this big step with Star City, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, so
score awesome. Keep the game, see the world.
There you go. We figured it out.
Is that what the phrase is?
I gave up on play the game, see the world probably about 5 to 6 years ago, and shifted to judge the game, see the world, and that's worked out just as good.
Yeah. See, I'm working on talk about the game, stay at home. Is that a good alternative as well?
It's
not as catchy
choice.
as a tagline.
Morgan, it's a life choice. It's a life choice.
I agree.
Is that like the Magic Online tagline?
Yeah.
Play the game, lead an increasingly sedentary lifestyle.
Grow a beard, yell at kids on your lawn. I understand. I get this. But we have another fun-filled episode for you folks this week. We have a few community topics because I don't know if you guys listened to last week's episode, but we might have recorded on a Tuesday when something big happened on a Wednesday.
Wait, what? Something happened on Wednesday?
It did.
Oh my gosh.
And so we had a whole bunch of words that came out of our mouths that were completely irrelevant, and that always is a good feeling.
That's all right. So the Wizards.
Yeah,
got him.
We weren't the only podcast that got hammered on that, so...
Good.
We were one of many.
Podcast, content creator, I don't know, player or store that sold or bought things. Yep. It was cool.
So we definitely have to talk about that. We also have JP on to help us talk about the policy changes because we don't know. We just play the game and hopefully we don't do it wrong. So JP will help us enlighten ourselves on that. And then, of course, we have some local events that happened over the weekend. We have the Open that was standard that we have to talk about. And then, kind of what is going to be happening in the upcoming weeks. Upcoming week, I should say. So a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. So let's dive right in with the big community topic at the top of our show, which is Felder Guardian was emergency banned on Wednesday evening. They had a nice Wednesday night and decided to put down the cat. It's very sad.
Wow, that's dark.
It's very sad.
Wow.
So Healy's just stroking. He's gonna be okay, little boy. You're gonna do fine.
Took her out to the farm.
Yeah, that was crazy because I saw that and I posted it in the show chat. I had to verify that it was real because I thought it was fake at first. And then I'm like, no, this is definitely from...
You posted a picture first, right?
And I posted the link.
Okay, so either way, the first thing I saw was a picture, and I was like, well, that's fake.
Yeah, I thought I was like, this can't be real. And then I was like, well, this is from Wizards, official Facebook. That's where I saw it. And I was
nowhere near the actual update time for the mothership.
Right.
Just literally out of the blue. Hey, by the way,
7:33. Good time to ruin lives.
Now, and to be fair, obviously they're in the West Coast, so their time zone. That's like the end of their shift, pretty much.
Okay, 3:30. Time to ruin 200
so
lives. I don't
end
know.
of the workday, we're all leaving the office. Yeah, let's just. And we're going to do it live.
Who's still here? Just interns. Yeah, post it.
Yeah, do it. But this is obviously not something that we typically see happen. There's one time beforehand. Did anyone do the research on actually?
It's one actual emergency banning.
Okay.
I heard a lot of people this weekend talking about the emergency ban. They didn't do that. That was the actual ban and restricted announcement was in the middle of the summer before. So that was an emergency banning. Yes, it was banned in standard, but
Memory Jar was the only other one.
Memory Jar was the only emergency ban.
So obviously extremely rare. And it's been almost a week since it's happened, so any sort of rage or upsetness that I had dissipated because obviously, like I said in last week's podcast, I bought into the deck. Now, fortunately, I was able to return my cards. I bought them from a trusted seller and was able to return them for the most part. Which is good, and I hope that is the case with a lot of people that did, felt safe on Monday. And if it wasn't, then that really sucks. And it's something that personally I feel it was the worst way to do the best thing for the format, quite possibly. So
you had Monday to do it right, and you chose not to do anything.
Well, you see, they had 2 days of data gathering, from only Moto in a format where people weren't buying all the new cards or were testing brews, and that data apparently was very, very reflective.
It was very telling. Yeah,
that's all garbage. I'm sorry,
that's not real.
A garbage response.
I don't think anyone in this room at this point in time really buys that story. And it is definitely something that we'll never really know what kind of internal politics went on during this, because it definitely had to be politics of some persuasion. Because there's no way that you don't, if you're gonna bring up data, there's no way that could you could look at the data that you already had and determined that this wasn't going to be a force even after Amon Cat.
Well, the 40% number they even cited was still concurrent with what it actually was in the format.
Exactly.
Based on our actual percentages we already had, it was it's the same.
Oh yeah, really?
Yep.
That's the same.
Yeah, we already knew that. So, but it happened, and again, this is good for the format. I think that's something that we do want to emphasize. We all agree that the card needed to be banned. We talked about it at length how it needed to be banned. So it's not like we can be upset about that fact. That card will no longer cause problems in standard, and will hopefully allow the format going forward to be healthy. And we already see indications of that when we talk about the Open.
Yeah, I think we're allowed to be frustrated with the way that WotC handled this, though.
That is 100% my next sentiment.
Yeah, on one hand, I love that they're so receptive to feedback and they really do listen to the community and, they do take that feedback. But on the other hand, they're so wishy-washy with their decisions. How many things have they walked back? Oh, you know what? Hey, we're going to get rid of the Modern Pro Tour. Oh, no, just kidding. We're going to bring it back. Oh, no, we're going to kill it again. Oh, hey, we're going to have this new standard rotation that we're going to set up for 2 years. And then, we're just going to go back to the old rotation. It's just I don't know. I wish they would just stick with their decisions. Like, as much as I thought the Feldar Guard needed to be banned, I thought, once they announced that it wasn't, hey, you got to stick with that.
Yeah.
But
I really struggle with that. Like, I agree with you, like, to a point that I wish they would stick with their decisions, but this still feels like the right decision. So I don't know.
No,
but
yeah.
again, like, if any person who, and honestly, JP, you who, literally also stood behind a counter with singles for a long time, like, I don't know how you could look someone in the face and tell them, like, yes, you should buy this. You know what I mean? Like, hey, will this get banned? Should I buy it today? It didn't get banned. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that people throw around like consumer confidence really lightly, but like it is a real thing. Like Morgan is going to be much more reserved, I assume, in buying decks. No, you're not at all. So look, I'm just shaking his head.
proved you wrong.
The guy was literally trying to light the internet on fire last week, and then like now he's like, it's okay.
So here's the thing. I probably won't be reserved with what cards I buy. It's where I buy them from.
Well, that's
where
true.
I'm
That's
actually going to be more reserved from. I'm going to try to buy from trusted sellers. I'm going to try to buy from people that have return policies, and I encourage everyone else to do so. Which means that you probably will be paying more for your cards in the secondary market. But I'd rather have some sort of protection than just go out there in the Wild West and lose money on this game that I play with my friends as a hobby. Which I can't. I'm not made of money. I don't have infinite dollars. I got to be careful with how I spend my Magic money. So
I think the scariest thing for me is the precedent that WotC was trying to set. Like when we had the initial bannings heading into the Revolt, when we lost Copter, we lost Emrakul, we lost Reflector Mage. It's like, holy crap, they're banning stuff in Standard again. Someone tear down the wallpaper, grab the walls, and hold on for dear life. Things are changing. And WotC set up the precedent of, this is when we're announcing our bans. We're going to take some time to look after the Pro Tour, and then we're going to do another set of bans if we need to. Otherwise, we're just going to move on, and then when the next set comes out, you can expect bans at this time. And literally, the next set, they say nothing's going to get banned, and then 2 days later, they're like, nope, we're going to move on.
Yeah, that's what
and
I'm saying.
It's just, for me, going back to what you were saying, it was just like, when people come into the store and, I need a couple Saheeli, I need a couple Cats, I'm like, yeah, that's great. This deck is 100% at the top of the format. There's no reason why you shouldn't be putting this deck together. And then that Wednesday comes along and says, well, now you've probably kind of sold people cards that they're gonna need to bring back to the store now, and it's the worst feeling in the world from a retailer perspective to be able to say, yeah, this thing that we told you and that the company who makes the game told you was going to be a safe and solid investment for at least this time period isn't, because they decided to do a snap emergency ban 2 days after their cycle. So I think if WotC wants to regain the players' confidence, they've got to choose a rotation, stick with that rotation, and give people the confidence that they're not going to go outside of that in the near future. Because if they do another crazy hair-burning ban like this, I don't know what the health of Standard is going to look like for the long term.
And I've seen people I've seen people actually make this argument, but maybe posit this argument that the Feldar Guardian was going to get banned sooner or later. Why would you buy into it even after it was announced on Monday that it wasn't banned? And I just don't think that I bought in the deck fully knowing that it was probably going to get banned after the Pro Tour.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
This deck's gonna
but
dominate
you're
the Pro
going to
Tour.
a big event.
Exactly.
There's a reason that you would want to buy into that, even knowing that.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It was clearly the best deck.
Yeah, so that was my entire sentiment behind buying the deck is I'm going to buy this deck, I'm going to play it in these big events and expect it to be banned in the next banning series, and then we'll move on with life. I wasn't expecting to be able to play this deck, for the rest of the format or anything like that. I knew it had a shelf expectancy. I was just hoping it was going to be lasting longer than before the format actually existed. But again, I do return the argument that it is a good thing. I do hope that in the future that they do not have to do any emergency bannings. I hope that they can, realize how to do their jobs and test the format before it comes out. That would be swell too. Please. And I understand that, obviously I will not say that the job is easy. It certainly isn't. But you knew what you were signing up for in taking that job. You don't expect a police officer to be like, oh, well, actually running's really hard, so I'm not going to do it. I know it's part of the job that I signed up for, but I'm just not going to chase people. You signed up for a difficult job, and you should know that going in. So be prepared to, be challenged, be prepared to work long hours, be prepared to do things that that are hard to do within your career, your profession. Because right now, all the professionals inside of R&D don't look very good. They have not done their job. This is like step one, like this is like step zero in them like proving to us that they know how to do their job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just to sort of sum up that last point there, I do think like, I would never sit here and advocate that anybody like lose a job or anything like that. That's not my place for it. But I will say that it does seem like some of the things that have come out of R&D article wise, that Sam Sauter has talked about, who obviously was on our show and is, very friendly. But this idea that like, they weren't testing those cards, like I said, Emrakul, they weren't trying to cast it as fast as possible. And Felidar Guardian, they just missed it, even though it said target permanent, which is should be a huge red flag. You know what I mean? Maybe they've got to just add more people. You know what I mean? Like, and add more people who have played the game recently. And we have a couple of pros in R&D, but these are at this point you're talking about a couple of years now removed from the game. We need people. And you could say maybe this is just competitive players, which obviously makes up the smaller demographic, but. You got to get some people in there who are going to look at the. We talk about Mark Rosewell loves to talk about like Timmy and like the different types of Magic players. Well, you got to make sure that you're testing cards from all of these angles, to see how players will play with them, and stop ruining Standard.
I think like at the very least, I mean, if they're not getting more people, I think they need to look at maybe revising like how they test or like
yes.
Just figuring, maybe just look at it again and be like maybe we need to do this a different way.
Or something as simple as like and I think if you listened to Sed Talks last week, because we all did, that was kind of a must listen.
Yeah, it's required listening.
But they talked about like how again, like I'll go back to Felidar Guardian. If it says target permanent, then like when it goes in the file, it should be flagged. Like this is a dangerous wording. I can't like whoever put the wording on there needs to go like I don't know if this interacts with everything in the format, but we should look back at this. Or things like Reflector Mage, which they said was like literally just like thrown into the set at the end. You can't do that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like you've got to make the time for it. You've got to find a way to do it. So,
and I think from a design perspective, it definitely like Felidar Guardian was made to work specifically with the trials. Like 100%, that was where the design idea was. This interacts with permanence.
The trials and the oaths,
right?
Yeah,
the trials and the oaths, and make it interact with these really cool enchantments. But if you're not testing with every single permanent in that format that could possibly do things, honey, you're doing it wrong.
But I mean, also with that card specifically, so even if Saheeli Rai didn't exist, you could still go infinite with the new Liliana that just came out
in a sack outlet.
In a sack outlet. So it's like, that's just a card that's like, even if it not right away it was like broken, it was just like, this is, like you said, it's just a dangerous card to have because it can do things that shouldn't really be happening. Yeah. So...
Yeah, not how they are currently designing, standard sets. It's just not what should be going on. So, but I mean, that's all I really have to say about it. I don't want to like beat a dead horse. It happened last week, so I'm sure you've heard a lot of hot takes, a lot of opinions.
I'm sure you have your own very hot take,
probably very spicy.
Whatever anger you felt, you're probably justified in.
Yeah, so. At least a little bit, I would say. But it's for the Magic community, it's not the end of the world. It's just like a speed bump. You just gotta get past it and do what you need to do to feel more confident in the game. If it's step away because of this, then maybe that's the case. And if it's just kind of keep plugging along, then you do you. But I don't think this is the end of the road as far as Magic is concerned. Obviously,
I hope people come back to Standard.
That's
all I'm saying.
That is,
bless, please.
Yeah, that is the big hope.
Well, yeah.
All right. So policy changes. This is something that we didn't really talk about last week very much because we knew that we would have an expert, here on the show this week. So, JP,
who's that again? Oh, okay. So I'm supposed to know things now. All right.
Yeah, go ahead and sort of bust out some of these policy changes. There's only a couple that are really sort of important.
There's one that looks really big from like what actually changed within the policy and really didn't do anything except actually clarify things. And then there's one that literally completely changes how your turn works. So let's start with deck list. So it used to be when you went to a tournament and you had a problem during a deck check, you got a deck list penalty. It was one set penalty that combined both of them together. What they've done in this most recent policy change is they've separated them out. And they now have a deck list penalty, and they have a deck penalty. The deck list penalty is mostly what comes up during deck checks. You check the deck, and there are 60 cards in the deck, 60 cards on the deck list, but there's 2 cards in the deck that are not on the deck list, so there's a mismatch there. You're still going to get a game loss for that. With the deck problem, this is stuff that you discover things are in your deck that shouldn't be in your deck. For example, you shuffle up during a limited match and draw your hand, and you see a pacifism in your blue-black deck because your opponent paid a pacifism on your creature in the previous match. Call judge, this isn't 100% not supposed to be here, this isn't even in my pool. That stuff in the previous penalty guide was at a warning with a downgrade that was included, and basically what they did is they just separated these off, saying, hey, these are the things that you're doing during deck checks, this is your deck list problems. Things that are discovered in the deck that shouldn't be there are your deck problems. These are just warnings, fix it, let them move on. The biggest change in this, and this is a change that I am a huge fan of, because under the previous wording in deck list problem, this was not clear. If you discover, like, in the previous wording of the penalty, there was a wording that said, if you discover that you have more of a card in your main deck that is also, or more of a card that is in your main deck in your deck at any point, it is upgraded to an automatic game loss. So you draw your opening hand and you see 2 magma sprays, knowing you have 1 magma spray in your main deck and 1 magma spray in your sideboard. Well, crap, I have 2 magma sprays in my hand. Under previous policy, even though you called that on yourself, it was not downgraded, it was not kept at a warning, it was kept at a game loss. Under the new wording of the policy, that's a deck problem. It's discovered before any play is made, which means if you find it in your opening hand, you're fine. You go ahead and do an auto mulligan and correct the deck, and it's now just a warning. Because have had to give the penalty of, sorry, this has to be a game loss, because under the current wording, this is an automatic upgrade.
So it sounds like this is encouraging people to fix the error and not be penalized for it. Like if they discover it before game starts.
Let me tell you, giving a game loss to someone in game 1 of a GP, or in game 1, round 9 of a GP, and they're at 6-2, and you have to give them a game loss for that penalty, that's not fun.
They'll still make day 2.
They did make day 2. Praise all the Jesuses. They made day 2.
At 6-3, they're going to make day 2. But
no, they were. Or sorry, they were at 5-3.
Okay.
Yeah, they were at 5-3, and like, yeah, you got to go runner here to convert. I'm really happy with this change. It fixes a lot of stuff that was fiddly with deck list under the current wording. Just separates it and makes it a lot cleaner. Now, the thing that everyone has been talking about since the Revolt. Drum roll, please. Praise all the Jesuses. Combat is fixed now. So, before, in the previous wording of the Magic Tournament rules, when you used the shortcut of go to combat, you were saying, I would like to go to declare attackers. Which, for a very specific match in round 8 of the Pro Tour, I think it was round 8. It was round 7 or round 8. One of them, a player had Weldfast Engineer and Heart on battlefield, obviously wanted to crew Heart, get the pump off the Weldfast, and then crack. However, he just said, go to combat, opponent said okay, and then attempted to crew, and was told, no, that's not how that works. Now combat... It works basically the way that people want it to, and I guess that's the best way to put it. The way it actually works is when you say, when you say move to combat, if your opponent makes any actions in response to it without saying where they're making those actions, they are assumed to be making those actions in your beginning of combat step. So unless you say combat and you say, your opponent says, in your main phase, I choose to lightning bolts your Delver.
Goblin Ravelmaster.
Sure, you.
That's the card that matters.
That's the card that matters. Unless they say that specifically, they're assumed to be lightning bolting something in your beginning of combat step. If they choose to not do anything, you are then presumed to have priority in your beginning of combat step to crew vehicles or observe triggers, etc. It's, for me, from a technical perspective, it's weird because you're passing priority in one step to give priority to an opponent in another step, where if they pass priority, you then receive priority in that same step. That's weird up until this point in the MTR. That's never actually existed in Magic, because when you pass priority, you're always passing priority from one step to the other. However, from a functionality standpoint, no one's really going to see that happen. It just makes combat flow more easily because, as they said in the article that Toby posted on the Magic Judge blogs, which if you are a judge or you are a player in tournament level Magic, if you have not read this blog, you are doing it wrong. Please read this blog.
It's very important.
It basically makes what people wanted to do at the beginning of combat, where R&D has said they want development room and they want the ability for people to observe these triggers. This creates the ability at tournament level Magic for people to observe and have a place for these triggers to actually naturally flow and happen.
Right. It's something that is, a step that's always existed within Magic, and for at least for as long as I know.
Yeah, because I've had this conversation multiple times on floors of events where people are just like, why has this not been a problem before? I'm just like, well, R&D's never made anything that happened where you wanted to do something at the beginning of combat, so it always made sense for people to just pass priority through this basically scratch pad step that no one really needs. But now vehicles are a thing, and the R&D keeps making triggers in this part of the turn.
It's like on Magic Online when you don't set the stop and it just skips over it.
Yeah.
That's like what it was before.
Right. It's just like nobody actually needs this space, so
Yeah, I really enjoyed that explanation where they were like essentially the judges asked, they're like, "Are you gonna keep doing this?" And they were like, "Yeah,
cool. We gonna fix this."
Yeah, we need to change this thing.
There were a couple other things in the blog that Toby put up. Biggest thing outside of the two that we named, honestly, combat is the biggest thing. You should learn how combat works right now if you're playing standard, because vehicles, vehicles. The other big thing was naming cards, which you used to have to specifically name the card for stuff like cranial extraction or lost legacy to work. Now they've actually put something in the MTR about to specifically describe a card is also the same as naming it. So if you're with my lost legacy, I want to get rid of your legendary 3/3 dwarf lord. That's sufficient enough to get you to Paula.
It's a T'Pala. Yeah.
No, I was trying to think. What's the other one? Is that the one
T'Pala?
from Judgment?
Oh.
It was right.
Balthor.
Yeah, Balthor. Yeah.
Yes. Nice. Yeah. That it's definitely a change from back in the day. So when I first started playing, it's you needed to know the exact card.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
I think famously was it Gerard Fabiano said can extract your what was it? I can't think of it.
Yeah. I think the
you
other
talk about Mike.
Yeah.
The example I think of is
Hunted Wumpus.
Yeah.
He said Humpus Wumpus, and they're like, nope, that's not a card. Yeah, you whiffed.
By the way, Balthor the Stout is a barbarian lord, sir.
It says creature dwarf lord.
Yeah, but
he
he pumps barbarians.
Whatever. He's dwarf legend.
Fine, he's a dwarf lord.
Fun fact: Balthor then dies, and then comes back as Balthor the Defiled in
Yep.
Judgment. So just saying.
Then he's a zombie lord, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Zombie
man.
dwarf lord.
Oh, man.
thing.
Balthor is sweet.
Yeah. But seriously, I'm sure there's going to be a link to Toby's blog post in the show notes, I'm guessing. But seriously, read this blog post. There is so much that happened with policy this time that for me to actually sit down, it would probably be an entire podcast. I imagine that JudgeCast probably covered this as well.
For sure. If you want a more in-depth look, then there is a podcast out there called JudgeCast, and as it is aptly named, it is about judge and judging and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, but I mean, this blog post is quality stuff, and you should know what it says.
Perfect. That is everything for our community segment, I do believe. So we will be moving on to competitive, but before we do that, we do want to give a shout out to Comic Town, our lovely sponsor of the show. And just so you know, Comic Town will be running a few in-store events near the end of this month. So the next stop for the Comic Town Championship series will be a Legacy Expo that's going to be held on Saturday, May 27th. And this will be a WPN premium event.
That is correct.
What does that mean, GP?
So, WP in premium events actually come with a ×4 Planeswalker point multiplier. So, if you are looking to get buys at GPs or get an invite for nationals, this is a way to rack up a bunch of points in one event. And these premium events are made to be more local events, so you can get out and get to these events and get these points more easily than hitting up a GP.
Well, and then on Sunday, May 28th, there's actually going to be a standard format IQ. So both events are happening near the end of the month, but important to note, write them down in your calendar and come out to Comic Town. All right. Competitive. So we did have some local events over the weekend. We had obviously we had the Comic Town Championship Series. It was the standard Amonkhet release weekend event that all four of us were at, technically. Three of us competed in. Had two varying levels of success. And we can start. I can start, I guess. Well, JP, how did you do in the tournament?
I judged until I left in the top 8 to make my call for the show I'm in.
Perfect. Awesome. Sounds like a great day.
It was wonderful.
Hey, do you want to plug the show you're in?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Wow. Oh, all right.
So, I played in the event and played the Grixis Drakehaven deck that Mike had brewed up. And I did not win very many matches. I had a bye, I think, right? No, or was that FNM? No, I genuinely won. I genuinely won one match. And then... No, I won 2 matches, I think. Can't remember. I think
I think you won a match and you had a draw, didn't you?
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I went 1-3-1. And I'm never playing your deck again.
That's totally fine.
It's not for me at all, whatsoever.
I think it should be pointed out that, and this going back to the discussion about banning, like this was a pretty small classic, and there's a number of reasons for that, but it could be people needing to get cards, people being disheartened about their deck, not finding out till Wednesday made it for bad for a lot of people, but it was fairly small. So I went 2-3. And I did cash, which is not common, but I am not upset about it. I will say, so we tested the deck a little bit at FNM, and I went 4-0 at FNM and won FNM, which you could say, they're not really comparative, but actually they were pretty comparative because I think every single person at FNM was also at this event.
Yeah.
But I really like the deck as it is. I actually wrote about it this week. If you want to head on over to legitmtg.com.
#legitmtg.
I wrote a love letter to Drakehaven. It was, I think it was beautiful, personally. But I went 2-3. I lost to a Grixis Emerge style deck that honestly they have 4 Cosmic Returns, and it's probably not the best matchup for this deck. I had some pretty rough mulligans against a Martyr Vehicles deck. One against Blue-White Control, and one against now I can't remember, but it was another a legitimate deck. Against Energy, against the Pummeler deck.
Gotcha.
And then I lost to Metalwork Colossus Fling. And the Fling got me. I was at exactly 10 and just died to the Fling, and I was like, all right, well, cool.
You got you with the Hidetsugu second, right? What's your life? 10? Oh, okay.
Here's the thing. I think some of that was definitely variance. The flip side of playing in a small tournament is that it's rough. I'm going to keep playing with the deck. I love the card. I'm just going to keep playing Drakehaven. I don't really care if I make the deck great or not. I'm great with the deck, and that's me personally. That's like a mental health thing. So
that's normally how it goes. Like the decks that you brew, nobody else can win with. So, but as long as you're winning, then it's fine. That's good for you. But
I do think that. So you said you won't play again because Morgan's going to end up playing standard for us in Louisville. So
that's
I can play
correct.
modern. So I'm not going to push another Drakehaven deck on him. He can play whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But I saw it a blast. Like that card is fun, and I had a lot of people who are excited to see the card. And that's how I want to play in a format, especially in the first week, is play with my brew, have fun doing it. I got to use sweet tokens for all my different cards because that's half the fun I do. I felt really bad though. The guys put me on camera around one, and he didn't have tokens for me. So you have Ghostbuster Spirit tokens and Magic Carp Drake tokens, and and I'm pretty sure I got to make a night against him, which is a bad man, which is a Val Kilmer. So I gotta do all the things.
Yeah.
If you're interested in the deck, I did write about it. Take a look at it. And I'm gonna keep pushing the deck. But obviously, Dave is going last here because I think he did pretty well.
Yeah.
You did
Yeah.
okay.
You might say that.
I won the thing.
I did the thing and won.
I finished first place.
Congratulations, Dave.
Yeah, so I was able to win the classic. I played. So last week I talked about like decks that I was thinking of, and I was thinking about control style. I did end up playing a control deck, but it was a little bit different than what I was thinking of at the time. So I ended up playing Teamer Control, or the Teamer Tower deck, if you will. So very similar to the lists that were out there prior to Amonkhet. Just updated it with some new cards, so added some Sweltering Suns, one Dissenter's Deliverance in the main instead of the one that puts an artifact on the bottom. It's really minor changes, really.
You played the pool, right? Pool from tomorrow.
Oh
that
yeah,
card?
yeah. I guess that was the biggest change.
Yeah.
That and Censor. Were the cards that were probably
Just like the two hot fire blue cards from the set.
Yeah. Pull from Tomorrow was... It felt like a high variance card. Like in some matchups, it was just like the nuts, just the best card. And then in other matchups, like against the aggro decks, it was really not great.
I mean,
An
that's
easy
kind
one to
of,
sideboard out.
Yeah,
so.
it's kind of what you should probably feel like against aggressive decks. Like, I really don't want this big, X card draw spell.
Well, yeah, I mean that's people compare it to Sphinx's Revelation. I think
Yeah.
that's where it's like you can really tell this is not Sphinx's Revelation.
This bad boy don't gain you life.
No. But yeah, the deck was pretty sweet. I lost one match in the Swiss to Teamer Pummeler deck, which felt really bad. That one was on camera, and I just got crushed in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But every other match, like I felt like deck felt really good, really smooth. Played against red white mid range, red white humans, blue white control. I forget what the other one was.
We already said the Teamer deck, the energy deck.
Yeah, I forget what the other one was in the Swiss, but
It was the Jeskai control list in the Swiss.
oh
right?
yeah, the Jessica control list, which I drew against unintentionally. but it's okay because
control decks drew.
Yeah, it was okay though. Yeah, it was okay because we played again in the top 8 and I was able to win. So it felt really weird for me because I haven't played a control deck in a long time. So I've realized that as I've gotten older, playing these like really long grindy matches over a long day, it like really does affect me, and like physically, I like later in the tournaments, I'm just out of it. So I luckily it was a smaller tournament, but yeah, it was a while since I played just a straight control mirror, and like it was a lot of fun actually. Like, I was just like, oh yeah, this is why I used to do this. But and we talk about like slow grindy. It's like, hey, it's turn 15 and we're both still at 20. And we both have like 13 lands in play. Cool. But yeah, he didn't have Pull from Tomorrow's in his deck, and I did. So the games normally, we'd fight over something, and then I would just hit him with like a pull for like 6 or 7, and then just refill my hand. And then that was pretty.
And
much
he didn't
it.
have that availability,
Yeah,
so crushed him.
No. So able to beat that. Was able to get my revenge on Tam, who gave me my only loss in the Swiss. So I beat him in the top 4.
And he was playing Pummeler, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Deck making a resurgence.
I boarded differently the second time around because I really didn't have anything specifically for him. And like the first time we played, he resolved
Hydra, Bristling Hydra.
Bristling Hydra, which is like nearly impossible for me to beat.
Yeah, I don't know how I beat that card.
Very hard to beat. And I just didn't have any counters for it when I played it the first time. So we just jammed him out there, just tapped out and everything. I didn't even have the sensor. Second time around, I boarded a little differently. I actually brought in the Long Tusk Cubs, which I had on the board, which like you wouldn't think would be good. But I had so many dead, like Pull from Tomorrows were really bad against his deck. Like kind of the more expensive things, I just wanted out of my deck. And I just wanted to be more proactive. And like presenting blockers was actually fine against that deck because the targeted removal isn't always going to work because they have so many pump effects and blossoming defenses and things like that. So I was able to take that down in 3 games. split in the finals, but we played it out. And I was able to beat a green-white tokens style deck. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It was nice to. I've done like decently well in a lot of the local events here, but it's been a while since I've actually won. So it was nice to get that. So and especially with the list too, like kind of a funny story. Like I actually bought the Teamer deck in the previous format, and then I just never played any games with it. Like I acquired all the cards for it, had the whole deck together, and then just never played in any tournaments or never.
Sent it with Elliot and I to the RPTQ.
Yeah,
and didn't see it again until last week. Like,
yeah, Elliot just had it for like 2 months. So yeah, so I was like,
tell me how you felt about Standard for a few months there.
Yeah, I really wasn't interested, but
didn't miss it. Yeah,
yeah, but yeah. So my first game was round 1, and it was sweet. But I honestly I have no idea if it's a good call going forward. There weren't. I don't think there were any of them in the top 64 of the Star City. There might have been one. There was one in the top 8 of the Classic.
Yeah,
that we'll
there
talk
was
about
one in 5th place.
So I don't know. Tower it was pretty good, but like it's not, I guess, as good because when you're playing against a Sihili deck, you can just play a Tower and then they can't combo you. I guess you don't have that upside, but it's still just a good card. I mean, it still allows you to kind of control the board.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the deck was sweet. I think. I mean, I'll probably continue to play it unless it just proves to be not a great choice. I guess we'll see how the metagame shapes up. But.
Yeah. But there was also another event on Sunday, and that was a modern IQ. And I didn't play in it. Mike didn't play in it. We passed on it. But Dave, decided to try to go for the back-to-back.
Along with another 80 people.
Yes, correct. Along with another 80 people.
Went from sub 30 standard tournament to 80 plus modern tournament.
People's format.
People's format.
Yeah. Yep. So I I played Grixis Shadow in that tournament and almost went back-to-back. I lost in the top 4. But yeah, that was my first time playing Grixis Shadow. I've been playing the Jund Shadow deck for basically since before it was cool.
Right, you've played Grixis Delver before, so like you've played the deck before.
Yeah, it's basically Grixis Delver.
Yeah,
and you all know Death Shadow's the new base, so. But yeah, the deck was awesome.
You know that Death Shadow is just a flip Delver with a leather jacket on, right? You know that, right? Hey, Death Shadow's the card that your mother doesn't want you to see.
Yeah.
I don't want you out with that Death Shadow. They drive too fast.
Death Shadow's the bad boy.
He's smoking cigarettes. It's bad for him. I'm already dead.
Death Shadow's the bad boy for sure. No, but yeah, I was real close to going back to back. Like I was up a game in the top 4, lost what I thought to be an unlosable game 2, where my opponent was stuck on 1 land, and then somehow you ripped the perfect combination of cards to get him back into it, and then I drew some lands and eventually lost
and died.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but hey, I'm not going to complain. It was a great weekend for me. Got had some nice finishes. Got some money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if there's anything that we can really take away from this is never playtest. Just
don't playtest anything.
Just go in. You're like, this is the first time I've played this deck. I'm gonna crush you because I'm Dave Nolan.
I can't advocate this.
Playtesting's overrated. No. No, I mean honestly, I don't know. I mean, like you said, like the Grixis deck is. It's a lot of cards I've already played before.
Sure, yeah.
Played a lot of Tassigers, played a lot of Thought Scours and Serum Visions in my day.
Even going back to Teamer Tower, you've played a lot of Control in your life. I know you, Dave.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a great weekend. It's actually been a while since I've actually just played Tournament Magic, so it was nice to get back into it and do well.
All right. So let's talk about Atlanta. So we had our first Standard Open. This was an interesting tournament. I know that some of the quotes flying around. I know Jim Davis was super excited. He couldn't wait to see it was going to be like the Wild West of Magic, and apparently in the Wild West you had a lot of the same no, just kidding, high percentages of the same varmints running around. Apparently,
This is like the Wild West of like the DeLorean is back there in Back to the Future Part 3, right? It's like,
I say that because it's a vehicle.
yeah, everyone's got horses, and then all of a sudden here's Michael J. Fox.
It also flies.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what is that guy doing? Oh, he's crewing his vehicle.
So is that like when you use Planeswalker loyalty to crew it? Is that like putting trash in it to fuel it instead of plutonium?
yeah, sure.
That's so good.
Um,
And the Wednesday banning was in response to the misuse of a sports almanac.
that's insane. Anyway,
I feel really good about this line.
again, it was a standard tournament, so we got to see what the emergency banning really had in store for the format, and we did see a large percentage of Mardu vehicles, even so much as it being a heavy percentage in the top 8 and actually winning the tournament in the hands of Andrew Jessup, a team of metagame gurus who obviously is sponsored by the same sponsor as us. I'm just saying, like, clearly Dave got some of that BCW influence, got some of that the BCW swag going on, winning the tournaments.
I did use my new deck box on
the
standard, so there
perfect.
you go.
Yeah, clearly
There you go.
that's the key. Everyone go out and buy your deck lockers,
Yeah.
your LXs.
Ding, ding,
Hey, or just keep listening to us and we'll give some more away.
ding.
It's really what it's about.
Got any more you want to throw out there?
No, that's
All right.
it. Anyway, we do see that first, second, and third place lists are also Mardu vehicles, along with the seventh
and
and eighth place lists. So again, it was a large percentage, but this, going into the format, like Mardu vehicles was still positioned to be like the de facto, good stuff deck in the format, and a lot of people didn't have a lot of time to really, test anything unless they're already working on something. So it's no surprise to see that a lot of people either already had this deck or had access to the deck and decided to play it and play it safe.
Yeah, I mean, it just has a lot of
Not
powerful
even, not even playing it safe. Like the deck was already very good. So
Yeah.
it's like,
It's like, and I'm sure a lot of people were either on Saheeli or were playing decks that were tuned to beat Saheeli, and then everything got turned on its ear, 2-3 days before the tournament. So this was kind of the expected outcome. I wouldn't overreact to this. I mean, obviously, you look at it, it's like, oh wow, a lot of Mardu vehicles. Wow, format really changed. But I do think the tools are there. So I don't think you'll see. I mean, Mardu vehicles still might be the best deck, but I don't think you're going to see it have 5 in every top 8 or whatever going forward.
Right, and it's week 1 of the format. Week 1 of a format almost always favors aggressive decks taking advantage of people trying to brew and not having the perfectly tuned list.
sure.
Yeah.
Like, the only other, with that same statement, yes, Mardu Vehicles was a big percentage of the top 8. The only other deck that was an aggressive deck that was really on people's radars was the Humans list that takes advantage of the interaction between exerting creatures and them staying vigilant with always watching. And in 4th place, we have a white-red Humans list that's doing exactly that. So, I mean, the aggressive decks almost always take week 1 of the format. It's obvious that, yes, there's a lot of aggro to get through if you want to be playing something that's not aggro. But I think once we get the chance to start digging down deeper into some of the lists that were in 9 to 32, you're going to see a lot more diversity than just vehicles being at the top. And the deck is definitely defeatable. It's just figuring out which tools we currently have that can dismantle the vehicles.
Right. I mean, even when you break down when we take a look at the day 2 metagame breakdown, there were 116 people that made day 2. 28 of them were on Mardu vehicles, and that's about 24%. And is that a large percentage? Sure. It's a fourth of the day 2 metagame. But obviously, I think this is probably the most played deck in the day 1 metagame, to be perfectly honest. So it makes sense that they would just have larger numbers in the first place. And I expect to see this number sort of settle out.
Yeah. Now, if we see it dominate the Pro Tour like the last one, then maybe it'd be time to panic a little bit. But I do think the tools are there. I do think my prediction is by the end of this format, I think everybody will be very sick of Torrential Gearhulk. We'll just put it that way.
Yes.
Torrential Gearhulk are oppressive, but I mean,
Heck of a card.
I mean, it's been sitting there on the fringes for a while in a couple lists. I mean, And if anything, Amonkhet screams, please, love of God, build a control deck that's blue-based. Because there's just so many pieces for it between Censor and Pull from Tomorrow that we already talked about, that the format just wants a blue-based control deck.
Yeah. So let's dive in and talk about sort of the rest of the decks that are going on here in the top 8 and further down. All right. So moving on to the rest of the top 8 and some of the other lists here, we definitely want to talk about. We already talked about a little bit about the white-red Zach Stern list. It's kind of what you expect it to be. I do want to note he is playing Hanwar Garrison, and I appreciate that.
Card is sweet.
I like that card
hot.
a whole bunch. But this is sort of the evolution of the white aggressive decks that we've seen kind of before, just with some exert creatures sort of flavored in there. Basically, we kind of saw this happening.
I not only appreciate that there's Hanwar Garrison in here, but there's also Hanwar Battlements.
Yeah, just
so
one
you
of.
can make giant spaghetti monster out of this.
You certainly can. You can make the Writhing Township or whatever that is, whatever that horrifying card is called. Yeah. You can do it. It is possible.
I really like this list. I don't know, something about aggro decks is just like straight 4-ofs.
Yeah,
I love it.
It is tempting to give this a shot, try this out, but this deck is pretty sweet.
Yeah, this is like the classic. It's not quite like the 20 lands, 20 creatures, 20 spells, but it's like
about as close.
4
as
Gossip
get.
Monger, 4 Thraben Inspector, 4 Thales Lieutenant, 4 Honor Crop Captain, 4 Hanwar Garrison, 4 Glory Bound Initiate, 4 Expedition Envoys, and then 2 Metallic Mimics. So I guess I had to throw it off. Then 4 Always Watching, 4 Deck and Stones, and then even the sideboard: 4 Needle Spires, 4 Gideons, 3 Self the Spirit, 4 Glory Bringer.
Yeah,
It's like this is about as streamlined as you can get, which I really appreciate in aggro decks, because I feel like people try to get cute a lot of times with the aggro decks, and like honestly, especially week 1, you're not really sure. You just jam, just get them all in there.
that's very, very true. So next up, we do have Black Green Delirium, piloted by Brennan. I was going to say Brandon. I'm like, that's not right. Brennan DeCandio.
We're not going to talk about Marta Vehicles.
I mean, so like,
Was
I
there
just want
any-
to mention one thing. Like cut to ribbons.
yes,
Looked like it was pretty insane.
yes. Also, we saw the triumphant return of the column man himself, Soren, Grim Nemesis.
Soren Grim Nemesis. Yeah, that was kind of surprising to see.
It's really weird when your aggro deck is going all the way to 6 in the against
So,
supported matchups.
It is a mid-range aggro deck.
It is.
And especially when you look at Jessup's list, it is definitely built for not necessarily for upfront aggro. We don't see.
So it's built for comfort, not for speed.
It is definitely built. No, he built the deck knowing in mind that he was going to play a lot of mirror matches, and you can see that in the way that he's tailored the deck.
Sure.
So this is not necessarily like your standard build of Marty vehicles. It's just better against other Marty vehicles lists. So this might not even be like the optimal list going forward. I know I was watching him stream a little bit today, and he was even saying like that he had been thinking about splashing blue. Like we saw like some of the lists do. Like I know Li Tian splash blue
Ceremonious Rejection.
for Ceremonious Rejection, Metallic Rebuke, like some of these counter spells, because like Teamer Aetherworks is like a deck that is we'll probably talk about, or the Aetherworks decks in general are something that have been picking up a little bit of steam and have been effective and are pretty good in his opinion, and I would take his opinion pretty seriously. Are pretty good against smarter vehicles. So
yeah, I just wanted to call out the cut to ribbons. That seemed to be the big addition to the deck. I mean, it's for the most part it's the same kind of list that we've seen, but cut to ribbons gives you an efficient removal spell, and then just ribbons just sitting in the graveyard. It's like a ticking time bomb. It's like, okay, well, I'm at virtual whatever,
Right.
I'm at virtual 3, even
now,
whatever.
it's a ticking time bomb unless you we're playing against Brennan Zagandio.
Yeah.
And then
There you
you got what returned.
Yes.
And from Never to Return, which is another card we see heavily played in his particular list. That was something that did happen on camera, where he got to take away that ribbons, and definitely took away that avenue of victory for Jessup. And they played the last day, last match of day 1, and they drew. unintentionally. So, like, I felt like these, I know that Jessup did say like that if there are more turns because they went the turns, obviously, that DeCandio definitely would have taken that one away. But it is pretty interesting to see here that guard be so heavily played, but not shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like DeCandio's list. I mean, he's playing kind of a more traditional black-green deck, so he's playing the Delirium style and not the Snake style that's out there.
Snake style.
Snake style.
He's playing
Yeah.
Spider style.
Yeah.
Opa. Anyways, Opa Spider style. Yeah, I really thought Ishkana was a card that got a lot better without Felidar Guardian. Like, essentially anything you could tap out 4 on 5 got a lot better anyways. But the 4 bodies that all block flyers seemed really relevant. Ishkana's interaction with Glorybringer is really positive for the Ishkana. So, I'm not surprised to see, Mama Spider back.
Yeah. You mentioned the number 2 returns, which was pretty impressive in all honesty. He's also running the 1 Mangle Horde in the main deck and 1 on the board. It's a nice traverse target and just kind of a nice thing to have access to. It's good against some various things. I think the only other new card, we have a couple of Liliana Death's Majesty on the sideboard. Oh, and 1 Scarab Feast.
Yeah. A lot of these blacklists are picking up Scarab Feast to deal with stuff out of the yard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, deals with scroungers, and it's pretty good against Torrential Gearhulk and
Mirror Match.
Mirror Match. Yeah, very
Cuts
very
ribbons.
very good. So let's talk about what I feel is like the deck that looks the worst on paper, but somehow still works, which is the Mono Black Aggro deck piloted by Caleb Shear.
Oh man, this thing.
And he's
not zombies.
he did do a deck tech, so if it is something that are interested in having a a person who actually has played the deck's point of view about it, it's definitely interesting because I listened to it and he talked about how this is not your traditional aggro deck. It is something that allows you to pretty much grind with the best of them and really that's how you win a lot of your matches. Sometimes you do have the aggro draw and you just kind of run over your opponent, but in a lot of times, in a lot of ways, sometimes you're just like playing that long game. And this deck does allow you to do that pretty effectively. And yeah, I mean, Dave, this has got the the new Delver in it. It's got it's probably the only the best, if not the only bone picker deck in the format. You do see like Walking Ballista, and just a bunch of stuff that allows you to both have a early game and a late game, and just some awesome awesome removal. Like you have Fatal Push, you have Grasp of Darkness, which are some of the most premium removal spells against a field of Mardu vehicles. So it makes sense why he did have success within the tournament, and this is just an interesting off the wall deck that definitely could not have existed if like Saheeli combo was a thing. And is pretty cool to see in general. It looks weird, but I guess it works.
Yeah, speaking of early game, Night Market Lookout. Did you ever expect to see that in a constructed deck?
I mean, it does.
The short answer, no.
It does attack for 2, technically, right?
What's the
At
long
least
answer?
1.
So this is the 1 mana 1/1.
Ostensibly, maybe because it interacts well with vehicles, but that vehicle is Smuggler's Copter, so.
Oh, never forgotten. Rest in peace.
In the arms of... sorry.
What were they thinking with that card? Jesus.
Oh, we could have got a 2-part harmony going.
I know. Why did we give up on this so quickly?
Man, no one ever sings with me on this cast.
Sorry.
You can't leave, JP.
But I must.
Maybe some postcast shenanigans happening.
Ooga check. I'm sorry. Anyways, this list is interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out why I had 2 Aether Hubs in it. It's like, is he splashing something? Nope, it's just for the Glint Sleeve
Correct.
Siphoners.
Oh,
That's it.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I think this list is not. I'm glad that this can exist to be successful. I mean, obviously, Caleb Shearer is a very competent pilot. And it's definitely something that probably influenced how well the deck did. But I could see this showing up in your FNMs and stuff like that. So keep it on your radar. Next up, we definitely want to take a look at the kind of a blast from the past, if we really want to bring it up, is the blue-red Thermo Alchemist deck. This is something that was popular for a bit of time, and had sort of the breakout showing at one of the Pro Tours. Was it Eldritch Moon? I think it was the Eldritch Moon or Kaladesh.
Yeah, it ended up doing really well at
It
the
like
GPs a couple of weekends after that, and then it kind of fell off the map.
Correct. And that was and we kind of see it come back in 9th place, piloted by Jason Bennett, and it's a lot of what you'd expect. We do see Glorybringer show up here as just being like a really, really good answer to Gideon. And but we see a lot of the same cards that deck had before. We see 4 main deck Fever Visions, and man, do I love me a Fever Visions, I tell you what. And the Storm Chaser Mages, the Thermo Alchemists, obviously, Bedlam Revelers, Chandra Torch of Defiance, all the hits pretty much. This deck is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we saw a lot of Magma Sprays. I think Magma Spray is a pretty important card for hitting things like Scrap Heap Scrounger. I think that's probably the number one thing you want to hit with that. But now you don't have to worry about getting comboed out by Saheeli. You saw, pretty much nobody was playing Shock anymore. People playing Magma Sprays in that spot. This deck is playing Shock because you actually want to go to the dome.
Yeah.
So
2 damage is
go to
real
the face.
good.
Yeah, go to the face is actually relevant for this deck. So I thought that was
this deck also gets to play Incendiary Flow, so it's not as worried about having the Magma Spray effect. Like it has it technically.
Yeah, I also think it's not a deck that's like as worried about Scrap Heap Scrounger anyway. But yeah.
Yeah. I think it's great. I like this deck. I have a lot of this deck too, so it's very exciting. I mean, I don't have a lot of the expensive pieces like Glorybringers and Chandra is like, okay, well, you got me there, but
Hot take. I don't think this deck's good anyways. So
but why Mike?
it did well here, but like it's playing 2 new cards. Like I don't know if it has what it takes to compete in the format consistently. It didn't before, and I don't think it only got pushed out by Saheeli. I hate to tell you.
I only got about like 2 new cards in the Tiber deck.
Yep, and that deck's better than this deck. So
Hot take.
Hot take.
No, I don't know. I think this deck's cool. I mean, it's definitely
it's certainly cool, but I don't know.
I think it takes the right metagame for this.
It certainly does. I mean, tell me how this deck consistently beats if Black Green Snake is running around, how does it consistently beat that deck? Oh, he did it. Okay, cool. So
I don't know, man.
So I'm good. I'm not getting down on Jason Bennett here. I'm just saying I don't think this deck is actually good again. I think it just had a new format to play in.
All right.
Sorry to get you sad.
Moving on. Now, Mike, you said that you wanted to talk about
zombies
before the cast. You wanted to talk about these zombies.
Can we do
lists.
this time?
What, I have no idea what we're about to do.
Really? Because I want to talk about zombie.
Zombie.
No. Wow, really? You're not going to help me with that one?
In your head.
In your head. Zombie. Thanks. See, that's all I wanted.
If you could do the little.
I was just doing that!
No,
Come on! What else do you want from me?
No, after that part, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
it's
it's
also,
also-
but you know what I'm talking
Because
about.
with their hands and their bombs and their... Oh, sorry. Anyways, there were 2 zombies lists, one in 14th and one in 22nd. The one in 14th was black-white zombies. The one in 22nd was mono-black. And I want to mention them because while we're talking about a lot of different decks, I don't feel like any of these decks are like Amonkhet decks. And to be fair, I think with so many blocks in the format, it's going to be hard to like see a definitive Amonkhet deck outside of Grixis Drakehaven. But I think these 2 are the ones that get the closest to that. And also, both of these decks were the only ones of their respective archetypes in day 2, and they went pretty much the distance here. So black-white zombies, and both of them have a lot of very similar creatures. You see Scrap Heap Scrounger. Let me make sure I have the other one
This is
too.
a card that I totally forgot was even a card.
Scrap Heap Scrounger?
No, Diagraph Colossus.
Yeah,
I was like,
that-
oh yeah, I remember that
Girls.
card.
and honestly, like it's the kind of thing that like is surprising, but it's kind of a nifty engine, especially if you're buying back like Relentless Deads, which both lists are playing Relentless Dead. The mono black list is more interested in like Lord of the Accursed and Liliana's Mastery. which obviously Black White sells Order of the Curse, but it's focusing on Wayward Servant, which is the Drain 1 zombie, as it's sort of like go long plan here. But you also see Fatal Push, you see Grasp of Darkness, you see Dark Salvation, so they get to play the best removal. And both of them were playing.
Wait, did you just say Dark Salvation was the best removal?
Well, they get to play Fatal Push and Grasp of Darkness. Dark Salvation, though, is a really good
Salvation,
removal spell.
Yeah,
in this
that's
deck.
pretty good.
It's
Like,
really, really good. I definitely got to see, granted, small sample size, but definitely got to see one of the zombie players at in the top 8 of the classic Dark Salvation, a Voltaic Brawler against the Energy deck on turn 3.
Yeah,
It's
and
just like a 1 mana.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
was
what I said,
just like zombie, neg 2, neg 2.
yeah, that's the thing I think that people forget about the card. Like, everyone wants the card to like scale up and like, oh man, like for 5 mana you can kill a guy and get 2 zombies, but
Or for 1 mana you can kill something that's
it just becomes
X3.
another Fatal Push. And like, if you get to play 6, 7, 8 Fatal Pushes in your zombie deck, that's gotta feel pretty good. Both lists are also playing 4 copies of Plague Belcher.
Yeah, just read that card for the first time literally 10 seconds ago, and I'm like, oh, this is a card. This is a 3 mana 5/4.
And like the sequencing
what
here,
this is.
like the sequencing here is great because like if you go turn 1 Crypt Breaker, then turn 2 you can make a zombie token that you can kill with the Plague Belcher, or turn 1 you can go Dread Wanderer, and that card is okay with dying to the Plague Belcher, or even Scrapping Scrounger is okay dying to the Plague Belcher.
Yeah,
and then especially the Black White version that has Plague Belcher and Wayward Servant, you're attacking with good threats, but these triggers, like, man, they really hurt. Like they will slowly get you there. So
Aristocrats decks have always been in there and like draining people for 1 or 2 and nickel and diming them here or there has
Right.
always been viable. And Black-White version has 8 things that are nickel and diming. The mono-black version's got 4 of the Plague Belcher, plus is really dedicated to just being straight ahead, bash you in the face with zombies.
and I will say I mentioned Liliana's Mastery on the Palooza, and I know that Morgan actually played against that card over the weekend. And I was talking about how like at 5 mana, like the worst thing you get is a 6/6 for 5. But like if your board state is just like zombies, then you get a ton of power for that, plus the new bodies to go with it. And the mono black version is playing this; it's playing more lands than the black white version is. But I think that this is a pretty interesting way to go with it. The other thing I will mention, the mono black version, is their sideboard plan is sweet to me because they have 4 Haunted Deads. And
well, you like that card more than most.
but I will say this: if you were predicting a format with a lot of control decks, you know what I mean? Like if you think you're going to get fumigated a lot, like that is a card that the control decks, like especially like the draw go style of decks, have a really hard time beating consistently. And it's a way to like if you have a draw that has Haunted Deads, you bring Call the Bloodline, and then you have like your Dread Wanderers. Then like how does your opponent beat that? You're like, all right, I'll discard 2 cards to bring back my Haunted Dead, and then now I can trigger all my Dread Wanderers, bring those back. And man, like that starts getting crazy. So
Yeah.
I think these are promising archetypes, and seeing how like you only had 1 of each open day 2. Now that could also mean that like there were a bunch day 1 and only 2 got in. But I think the showing they had in the final standings tells you that there's something to this archetype. So
Yeah, and even like the most recent, constructed league results for Magic Online show that there are 2 black-white zombies lists and 1 mono-black list that show up even. So people are starting to pick up the tech online, and we do see even some of these cards like being way more expensive than I realized they were. Hello, Crypt
Breaker's
Breaker.
$5 now.
Crypt Breaker's $5 and sold out on Star City, is also sold out on Channel Fireball right now, and prices on TCG Player are climbing.
Man, the little card that could.
Man, I was kind of glad I was playing zombies last format.
Yeah, me too,
'Cause I could
right?
just play
High
the
five
second
on
one
that.
too. Yeah.
Have that card. Have a Korean one, actually, and then
Ooh.
3 English ones, so who cares?
The only thing I don't really have from this deck are Relentless Deads, but which kind of stinks because they're expensive. But
Yeah, they're probably
Yeah.
they're like 17 at this point in time.
Girls, don't even ask. Show.
So, but such is life. You can't win them all, Mike. You can't win them all.
yeah, that's right.
I'm just glad to see that card finally getting its due.
Yeah,
because we were like,
finally
man, that
something
card's
for real.
awesome.
I got so tired of like every new set it being bought out being $10 for no reason and then like dropping back down to $6, and now it's like finally you found a hold. Proud of you, Relentless Dead. Proud of you. Next up we have some control lists. So Jeskai control and blue-red control I think we can for the most part talk about in a similar manner.
Yeah.
So, these are the blue based control decks. Both of these are blue red based. When you break it down, I think the main difference we'll likely find. I'm looking at the list right now, but like I'm assuming that Jeskai probably has some number of cast out. Is that correct? Anyone gonna?
I'm trying to click on it right now.
Pulling it up right now. Sorry. Yeah, 4 cast outs.
There we go.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Perfect. That was right then. And we have even seen we saw blue red being an archetype on Magic Online well before the Open even. To some degree.
Yeah, I believe that. So the first league or the first 5-0 deck list that they posted on Magic Online, even before the banning, to be honest, was I believe there was just one blue-red control deck, but then the next league had a couple more. So this was kind of like the new, I guess, deck that come out, and it just features. If we're looking at new cards, are we gonna talk about blue-red or Jeskai first?
Which one did better?
Jeskai.
Then we'll talk about Jeskai first.
All right, so we'll talk about Jeskai.
And Jeskai piloted by Matthew Wright.
Matthew Wright. Yep, he finished 16th. I believe Emma Handy and Dylan Donegan also played a close to the same list as this. So they must have all been working together with that. But basically, this is your standard 27 lands. 4 Torrential Gearhulks is the only creature. And a spell suite of 4 Cast Out, 4 Censor, 3 Disallow, 2 Essence Scatter, 2 Negates. Then you have kind of a small energy package here of 4 Glimmer of Genius, 4 Harness Lightning. Then you round it out with 3 Magma Sprays, which is a great control card. I played 4 of that in my 75 over the weekend as well. 2 Pull from Tomorrow. Which is probably the right number, I think. After playing with it, there were a lot of matchups where it wasn't great, but the matchups that it was great, it was really, really good. And 1 Sweltering Suns to round it out, which I was pretty impressed with that card as well. That was when it was good, it was really good, and when it's bad, you just cycle it. It's fine, I think it was interesting to note that they had Sphinx of the Final Word in the sideboard as well, which is a card that I kind of forgot about.
I definitely got cast against you in the tournament. On
yeah,
Saturday.
It didn't really matter, but I actually considered playing it myself, but and when you play Teamer, you have the option of you can kind of go semi-transformational, so playing Long Tusk Cub or Whirler Virtuoso, things like that. You don't really have that option in the blue white or Jeskai lists unless you count Dragon Master. Was it Dragon Master Outcast or whatever?
Yeah.
That's something that those lists can play, but it's not really aggressive. It's still kind of slow. But I like I was considering something similar to this, and I think it's a good deck. Cast Out solves a lot of problems. I think Gideon is a card that you would have a hard time beating otherwise, if you can't counter it. But Cast Out gives you a nice answer to that, and lets you obviously hit your land drops early if you need to, which is something you always want to do in a 27 land control deck. So,
and I know looking at the blue red control list piloted by Leith Medor.
Sounds right.
We do see a Kefnet the Mindful showing up in the main deck as a one of. In the sideboard, we see things like Thing in the Ice, Confiscation Coup, another Sphinx's Final Word, and Dragon Master Outcast, of course. And then Commit to Memory is also showing up in
3 of in the main deck.
In some of these lists. Now, I know that Dave, you're pretty low on this card, but I know that LSV is fairly high on this card, so I don't know who to believe.
I do.
I played it as a one of in the Teamer list. I wasn't impressed with it. When I drew it, it didn't really do much. I understand why people play it, and the reason why I played it is, the front half is fine. It's a 4 mana. It gives you a way to deal with planeswalkers or really any of the gods, because with the Teamer list you don't have Cast Out, so Indestructible is pretty good, against that. So I was like, I wanted some out to a Hazoret or whatever,
Sure.
Never really came up, and it just wasn't that impressive. Like, I never wanted to Gear Hulk and then cast memory off of it. Like, I had the opportunity to do it, and I just didn't really need it or want it. So I don't know that that's absolutely necessary. I mean, it's a cool card, and maybe it was just mine was just a small sample size. Obviously, an open, it's many more rounds than what I played.
Yeah,
but
there is the potentiality that you just never played against the decks that commit would have been backbreaking against.
Yeah, I mean, in Control Mirror, it was kind of like a 4-mana counterspell, which isn't great. Against the aggro decks, it's like really slow.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's supposed to be good against.
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be good against like Marty vehicles. Like, I'm pretty sure that's where that card is.
It's possible. I actually didn't play against Marty vehicles, so yeah, that's very possible if that's what it is. But I just wanted an out to random things. But
sure. But watching, I know LSV had he's playing Mono Blue Gulf the Shores with this card, and some of the lines that he's able to generate, where it's just like, I'm going to commit this, and then I'm going to counter this, and then I'm going to have 6 mana on my next turn, and then I'm going to, commit their next draw with my Torrential Gear Hulk. And it's just like it builds and builds upon itself. So it was fairly kind of interesting to see with that particular sort of list, which I feel like the blue-red control list would also be similar to. You don't have Engulf the Shores, but you have like other things that you're basically able to get from the Torrential Gear Hulk, like Harness Lightnings and things like that allow you to sort of play a similar game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's very similar to the Jeskai list we just talked about. I mean, obviously you're not running the white, so your mana is better. You have to play a more streamlined mana base. However, like I said, you don't have that easy out to things like Planeswalkers with cast out. So it's kind of a give and take there. It's funny because the counterspell suite is almost exactly the same in this list. You got 4 disallows and 2 Essence Scatter and 2 negates. So I don't know. I think it's hard to say which one is better at this point. I think they're both very similar. It's just I guess just a matter of preference.
Right. But it's good to see like there's some like actual control decks that exist in the format now, which hasn't been a thing in a while. So get used to it. Get used to playing, against in those matches.
Get used to it.
And the last list that we wanted to talk about from the open here is the Blue-Red Emerge list piloted by Zach Voss. And there were a few players that were on this Blue-Red Emerge strategy. It had even showed up on Magic Online a little bit as well before the tournament. And this list was like an interesting take. I think Zach Voss and Kevin Jones actually played similar lists, if not the same 60 at the very least. And we see things like Blood Rage Brawler showing up as a 4-of, which is something that I had yet to see before this tournament, and like a 1-of Wretched Griff and stuff like that. And this is the list that where your payoff is Kozilek's returns. Your payoff is getting a bunch of prized amalgams off your discard creatures and chaining Elder Deep Fiends. And this is the first time that we've seen this sort of list. This has waxed and waned in popularity and playability, to be perfectly honest. But a lot of people like this list. I think it's pretty nifty. It's pretty dope.
Hey, Mike, have you seen that sideboard yet?
Oh, yeah, Drakehaven. So I'm all in. He's got Drakehaven and Feeder Vision of the board, so he's going all over the place. I do want to say I like Nahiri's Wrath and Drakehaven together.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's adorable.
I was going to bring that up to you at some point in time, but yes, that is
at some point in time. I was waiting. I had that one on the shelf.
Yeah, it's funny looking at this list now. I know Mike had mentioned to you the other day, like if you had thought about going a more aggressive route with your Grixis deck, and like Blood Rage Brawler is a card that I thought may have some merit in that type of strategy. I mean, there's a lot of things that you want to discard.
Sure.
And in Drakehaven, I know that you love that card. It feels like it's more of a sideboard card. Like it's really backbreaking against control. Like I don't think control can really beat that card if it resolves. But I don't know. I mean, you can speak to it more than I can, but like against like Mardu vehicles.
Oh, I think I've made this really clear. I don't care.
I know you don't care. I'm
not
saying you have more experience with it. I mean, like against
good.
aggro, do you want that card?
Yes,
like, is it too
actually.
slow?
Yeah, as we worked on cyber plans for Mardu vehicles, it shifted even as we kept playing against it. It's great against that deck.
Okay.
Like it's great against those decks.
Yeah, that's how you pressure planeswalkers.
It's how you. Yeah, it's how you just build a board state
Yeah.
against them. So, obviously this deck is pretty a little more well positioned just because Kozilek's Return offers some outs that other decks do not. And we did see Morgan and I watched.
Oh man,
Zach
there's
lost. Just so you know, I know there's some Aetherworks decks in the top, and I do believe a banned Aetherworks deck won the Classic. We can take a look at, but man, Aetherworks Marvel does not feel great right now. And some of the decks we watched Aetherworks Marvel lose on the weekend were hilarious.
Okay, so that match, it was the Zach Voss versus Chihoyim. And to be fair, the reason that Chihoyim lost that is because he made a play mistake. He didn't block a flyer when he definitely could have dealt with it. And that 3 life is why he lost. In all honesty, like he died from not blocking, and that cost him the game. I really don't want to discount like the Aetherworks Marvel list. Like they are doing some good things, and
I want to discount them. I think what they're doing is a coin flip all day, every day.
I don't know.
It feel like that before, and now it feels like that.
And looking at results, like they maybe they're just preying on the metagame, and like that's why the coin flips are just really good against Mardu vehicles. But Jessup certainly didn't seem very excited about them, and felt that they were a threat. And I'm not going to take the man that just won the tournament's opinion as bunk. and maybe that's wrong, but I do like this. I do like chaining Deep Fiends and stuff like that. I played a deck like this at F&M and did pretty poorly with it, unfortunately. But
you were playing main deck Drake Havens, though, right?
That I was, and looking at this list, I do see how this might have a little bit more game against what was going on, especially like just like the random like Blood Rage Brawler beatdowns that could happen potentially. But yeah, this is again another thing that you can potentially do in the format.
The cool thing about Blood Rage Brawler is that with Kozilek's Return does set up some cool turns where you can kill Gideons. Mm-hmm. Because like it just survives Kozilek's Return and they can get in with an attack. Having 4 power is pretty important. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. It does feel like there are going to be some draws where it's just like, nope. But the cool thing about that deck is that you could just discard it. Your Tormenting Voice and stuff like that.
Exactly. But yeah, so that was pretty much the highlights.
No, I want to talk about one more. Just real quick. Just really quick.
You gotta update
please.
the show notes. Then I look like a dummy.
Nope, I have it open. Deal with it.
Fine.
54th place.
Okay.
Ali Andrazi.
All right.
Blue-green ramp.
Oh, wow.
This
Obviously.
This is not just blue-green ramp. This is Turbo Fog.
Wait, let me guess. It has the Take an Extra Turn.
Is one of those.
Really?
Yep. Again.
Just only one, huh?
Yeah, it has only one. Yeah, so it's playing Crush of Tentacles, just a one of. It's playing just a couple of Ulamogs, a bunch of mana guys, 4 Hedron Archives, 4 Censor, which, yes, that deck would love. A Commit sort of has 4 Haze of Pollens, 4 Commit to Memory.
Well, and a Turbo Fog deck seems a lot better.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm calling this Turbo Fog, but like honestly, it's only playing a couple Fog effects, but it's also playing those Nissus renewals. So it does seem like it could just like if it could survive that first wave, and like Censor is a big part of surviving that first wave, it seems pretty nifty. And I will never discredit an Ali Andrazi blue-green ramp deck because he makes some of the weirdest looking decks go at times. So it's kind of nifty. But I saw the you talk about Commit to Memory. I'm like, well, here's 4 of them. So there we go.
He doesn't even have the Gear Hulks,
which actually kind of surprises me because it seems like Gear Hulks would be good with this, especially with your your Haze of Pollens and your if you want to do that sort of thing. Though. Well, but like you're not wrong, but I'm not saying you should play 4, but it seems interesting. But the sideboard's pretty spicy. It's got everything, including a Lay Claim, which is real sweet.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I thought it was a pretty nifty deck. Probably not what I would show up with week 1, but I'm not this man. I would show up with Drake Haven, so I can't say any better. But I thought it was kind of cool. That's all. I promise it's the last one.
All right. Don't worry, we have more standard to talk about, so it's a-okay here, man. We actually have a classic to discuss here.
You mean another classic?
Well, yeah, another.
Because we talked about a
classic.
spring classic.
We did already talk about a spring classic.
And it was a lovely spring classic.
So let's talk about the standard classic that happened in Atlanta, and it was won by Sam Lowe playing Bant Aetherworks. And this list is it is something that was not on my radar, and now it certainly is. In all honesty, when we look at it, we do see some cards cross over from Ali Entrazi's blue green ramp list. We see the Nissa's renewal. We see. I know that his list was also playing Pool from Tomorrow and stuff like that. Also see Ulamog, obviously.
This feels like a better version. Like, looking at this one compared to the Teamer ones, this feels like a better direction to take this deck.
And I don't disagree with that, actually. We see that in the Opens, and Saeed and Reed Riska actually played a very similar list to this one that actually won the Classic. So it is something to certainly take a look at if you feel like you have a standard tournament that's coming up and you need a deck to play, and you're kind of infested with Marty vehicles, or just want something sort of rampy, sort of whatever to play. Like this is potentially it.
I like where these Aetherworks decks are in the format because they don't feel like they're totally busted like when Emrakul was legal,
Right.
They're just like they're good, but they don't feel like they're overpowered or like
Yeah.
doing something completely broken. Like turn 4 Ulamog is still pretty busted, but like
It's not consistent.
It's not going to be a consistent thing.
Yeah.
Which
And,
kind of makes it okay.
More importantly, we have more cards that just interact with Aetherworks Marvel as a card. So I think that's a good thing to see. It's a good thing to have. This we actually do see some interesting stuff. We see Aether Meltdown, coming in, being a champ, taking out them Heart of Kieran's.
Yeah, I thought about playing that card in the team. I ended up not, but I liked it as a way to slow down Hazaret or Ronus. So you can't remove them, but you could make them smaller. They still get to activate their abilities, but if you could slow them down enough to where you can start casting your Gear Hulks and things like that, you can take over.
I think the really interesting about this list is how much incidental life gain it has.
Yeah.
like you can Marvel on your opponent's turn and hit the Puzzle Knot, and then probably crack it and gain 6 life. You can hit Nissa's Renewal and just gain about 7 life for that one, right? Or you could just fumigate on their turn.
Yeah.
And that makes it so you don't have to because the other ones feel like you have to hit Emrakul. Sorry everybody, didn't mean to bring that back up.
my bad.
You have to hit Ulamog, or it feels like that coin flip. You're not going to win the game. This one though feels like you're just kind of playing a control deck. Otherwise, oh cool, hit value cards. Oop, hit a Glimmer. You know what I mean? Oop, hit this. Oop, hit this. Eventually, you're going to either cast or hit your Ulamogs, and it feels like it has real inevitability as opposed to just a coin flip. So. Maybe that's the way that I would feel more confident. And obviously it won the Classic, so it's got some chops.
Yeah, very, very much so. And we another thing that we do see that is that Dave brought up. I think we see the Teamer Dynavolt list, the Jonathan Thomas list, and this it's kind of what you expect. We see he's only playing 3 Dynavolt Tower, playing Brutal Expulsion. A card that's fairly interesting.
I feel like that is not really necessary anymore. Though, I mean, it certainly seems fine. But I think that was more of a card where it's like Scrappy Scrounger was, that was a real problem card for this deck. But
and you
now
just
having Magma Spray,
Spray,
having Magma Spray is just such a boon to this deck.
But
I can't state it.
sometimes you just want to play fun ofs, and Brutal Explosion is definitely a fun of. I feel like
I'd rather play that than the Commit to Memory.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
I mean, that would have been better for me probably on the day. But
well, there you go.
I think we're missing the important question about this. What is his middle name?
Oh,
I mean, his
are
name
you?
is-
You think this is a JTT joint?
I mean, this
I
is
think
Jonathan
so.
Thomas. It could be we don't know where he went.
I'm
like-
fairly certain that Jonathan Taylor Thomas isn't hanging around,
Why
Star
not?
City Games.
Where else could he
Classics,
be?
playing Teamer Tower.
Just collecting those Lion King royalty checks, like
I imagine.
hanging out with people at Star
Why
City
not?
events, taking pictures like Home Improvement style, like take a picture.
I don't think so. It's not even his catchphrase.
They don't know. They just know he was a guy on the show.
Oh, okay. I don't think this is Jonathan Taylor.
Signing copies of Tiger Beat.
Oh man.
Oh my.
And see, now I'm sad. Now I'm sad that it's not. You look what you did. You just made me sad.
That's to be fair. I probably just made him sad too. Like, no, I've been
we don't-
denying that for years.
We don't know that it's not though.
Yeah, we don't know that it's not. It could be. You cannot confirm that it is not Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
You got me there.
Yes.
I can't. I just don't really think it is.
Let me dream.
All right.
We are the dreamers.
Can I just point out the whirler makers in the sideboard?
Yeah.
That's either a misprint.
It's
Or-
probably a misprint.
There's
don't
some
think-
crazy tech that I don't know about.
I don't think he's packing Whirler Makers. He's probably got the
I don't know. Control mirror breaker.
Is it? Would you
Maybe.
just rather have the creature that makes
No, creatures die.
yeah, but then they can make a bunch of Thopters before they die.
Well, he has that too, right? Yeah, it's probably Roller Vochero. So
It's Whirler
Let's be
Makers,
honest.
so
But
yeah, come on, man.
it's-
Don't be bringing that nonsense in here, acting like it's the truth. We know Star City Games and how they print their deck lists.
they're always good for one.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always one like card that's like, what?
You're
What was the one in the Tron deck that we were like, what is this?
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh,
I don't
the
even.
2/1 that like gives something +2/+2. or
Yeah,
something
like
that.
something
Yeah.
completely wrong. Oh man,
I forget the name of it.
Who cares? It was wrong. It definitely wasn't in that list. All right, I think we're good on the standard. I
No,
think,
we're not.
dang it! Every time,
Mike.
stop it.
But there's some sweet stuff here. Did you look
Just
at the
when
blue
we think
control?
we're out.
Yeah, so
Mike
so
pulls us
initially
back in.
I pointed at this list because I thought, oh, this is going to be an approach of the Second Sun list because this is kind of what this is set up to be. It's not. It's 12th place, Aaron Barrich on Blue-White Control.
Yeah, Aaron Barish. Which is, to be fair, Aaron Barish is a notable like aggrosman. Like he plays creatures and kills people.
Right,
So this
and
is
I'm-
a pretty good departure for him.
I saw Blue-White saying, hey, look, you can do approach isn't in this list, but there's some interesting things in here, girls.
Spontaneous mutation.
There are 3 spontaneous mutation in this main deck.
I like it.
It's hot.
I mean, he's playing a lot of cycling. No Drakehaven. This really
Yeah.
does feel like a Drakehaven list. In fact,
Like he's playing 4 Curator of Mysteries. Obviously, he's playing into the cycling theme.
That's his
and
win condition. Like his
yeah.
win conditions are Curator of Mysteries, 2 Westvale Abbeys, and a Torrential Gearhulk. Nothing else here wins the game. So he's gone about as low as you can go on this. But yeah, if you have a lot of counter spells and a lot of cycling cards and spontaneous mutation, just like a blue mana like
It's
null your guy
Yeah.
seems pretty sweet.
That's came into this trying to point to as one specific card that I felt was kind of cool on the weekend and find 2 other really cool cards in this list.
Yeah, so it's a pretty extreme version of like another version of Control. But man, that's pretty cool. I really like that.
Shout out to Regal Carricle showing up.
Yeah, 3 of them on the board.
Showing up on the sideboard. You get him
Kitties.
kitties.
I also have an apology for Regal Caracal. You should have had a chance to play a Felidar Guardian.
You should have.
You should have. You should have had a chance to do it.
So they should have had the Stoneforge Mystic caveat.
If you play it in Cat Tribal, you can still play
Yes,
it.
correct. Accurate. Only time it's legal is with other kitty cats.
Other kitties.
You can't have Saheeli right in the deck.
But Regal Caracal getting flickered by Felidar Guardian, which is a cat, is super flavorful. And I just, you know what? I am so glad Felidar Guardian's gone, but you deserve better.
I guess it'll just have to be on the kitchen table. It's unfortunate.
Well, my cat's not allowed on the table.
It's true.
Get down from there.
Get down. Spray it with a water bottle.
I think if you sprayed your opponent's Regal Caracal with a water bottle, they'd be really upset.
Probably.
Like, what'd you do? He was on the table.
He's on the table.
I'm guessing JP that'd be frowned upon at a tournament.
Oh, okay.
Give me the
Like,
flavor.
I'll allow it.
There. Give me the flavor judge ruling
Okay,
on that.
Flavor Judge ruling. As long as you cast a removal spell at the same time you were doing that, I feel like Flavor Judge ruling that stands.
What if it's like an
Yes.
unsummon? It's like a bounce spell. It's like just go away.
Well,
at that point, you
every
just-
removal spell is an unsummon at that point in time because they don't listen.
Yeah, obviously the cat is just straight up counters the unsummon effect. Obs.
Yeah, clearly. Cats always resolve, and they always come back. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's all you need to know.
And they always land on their feet.
And they
true.
always wear hats.
And that's only that one anthropomorphic cat wore a hat.
It was a pretty important cat, though.
I mean, fairly
A
definitive.
fairly important hat as well.
That's very true. Many people that like to go to music festivals also enjoy that hat. So you're right. That is correct.
Did you know that was the same hat that brought life to Frosty the Snowman?
I don't.
I don't know.
First of all, if that were true, Frosty the Snowman, very different Frosty. Very, very different. Really into Sublime, turns out.
Frosty the Vapeman?
Thank you for the title of the show.
Frosty the Vapeman. We did it.
I don't know what happened to Frosty. All he wants to do is
Cool vape
listen.
tricks.
He just wants to listen to Bob Marley. I don't. There's more. We gotta do some. We gotta go around town and spread some cheer. Frosty. He's like,
He keeps
I'm not
asking
about
if we
that.
want the sack, and we're like, it's the 1800s. We don't know what that means. Like, what's that mean?
He invented tie dye. We don't even have that yet. But he did it. I don't know, Frosty. It's that hat, man.
I kind of
should have stole that hat from that cat.
Yeah, I wish we had that. Could give that hat back.
We gotta find a stovepipe hat. Pronto. We need a more serious Frosty up in this.
We need a more mature Frosty.
Very much so. This Frosty just keeps talking about Coachella. I don't know what that is.
I love the fact he keeps talking about how he wishes to go to Burning Man, but for obvious reasons couldn't get it done.
Could not.
I like the fact that we've honestly everything we've described here. The kids have become more mature than Frosty and need to fix it, and we have now written Cat in the Hat. Where the kids were more mature than the cat and clean the house.
I'm just glad we figured out how Sue's got to it, man.
I feel like there's another component we don't have right now, but
Nah,
Yeah.
This is it. This is how we bottled lightning, I'm pretty sure. All right. Any more from the classic that we want to talk about? No, okay, good.
Okay.
Silence is great. Awesome. Moving on. Let's talk about the modern classic. Just a teensy bit. It was won by Doug Lambert playing Ad Nauseam, which Ad Nauseam has been gaining a lot of traction within the modern metagame. Continues to improve, so it's not surprising that we do see a combo deck really come out and have a strong placing within the actual tournament.
It's an ad nauseum deck. There's not a lot.
ad nauseum things.
Yeah. Hashtag.
You mean it didn't immediately switch to Gideon's?
No. I'm looking at the list right now. Can confirm. No Gideons. There is a Godhead of Awe in the deck.
Yeah.
Maybe, possibly a Godhead of Awe. Cannot confirm or deny that. I guess.
That's
That's a pretty hard one to type.
It could be one of the new gods from Amonkhet or something. I don't know.
Probably not, but
Nah. Godhead of All
Godhead
seems
of
pretty sweet,
Awe?
actually.
yeah. So I guess you know what? It's really awkward to turn your Death Shadow into a 1/1.
You.
Just always and forever a 1/1. But nothing else too truly crazy.
No, I enjoy playing Modern, so I went ahead and looked at most of these lists. For me, the most interesting thing, there were 3 burn lists in... Yes. There were 3 burn lists in the top 8, and for me, my biggest concern is I get a chance to start playing Magic a little bit now. None of those burn lists were packing Harsh Mentor in the main, only one was packing Harsh Mentor in the sideboard, and as a longtime Birthing Pod Abzan player... The fact that my deck basically lives on activated abilities and people are not on the Harsh Mentor tech yet makes me very, very happy. Stay on your Eidolons. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, Harsh Mentor really felt like, it would be something that we'd see play in Legacy, and then you're like, well, maybe not anymore, since, Top's not a card. But it's still pretty good against, like, Wasteland, still pretty good against Rashad Port, so... Modern, it definitely feels like you're kind of running out on reasons to play that card. Obviously, if, like, Abzan Company becomes, like...
Oppressive.
Oppressive, then maybe that does, seem like...
And I mean, like,
Lantern too. Let's be honest,
Lantern
like,
as well, but...
outside of that, you're shocking people for their fetch lands if you landed it on two.
which isn't the worst. I still think the best way to build it goes what Craig Wesco was talking about, by making like Boros taxes. I don't think it's really a burn card, but
That's fair.
there was a really sweet deck in this Modern Classic though. if you wanted to look. It's a little further down, but it's a deck that people have been rumbling about. It's cool to sort of see it. This is the Counters Company by Kevin Page. This is a Vizier of Remedies and Devoted Druid deck. So it's an infinite mana deck, but it's a company core deck. But the way it's built is kind of awesome because it's built a little bit differently than like you would see your Abzan companies and those combos. Because this one, like, it just wants to get the infinite mana combo online, and then it can use Duskwatch Recruiter to essentially draw its deck, like all the creatures. And then you can either kill with Walking Ballista, which is I don't know what to do. I can't eat any more hats. It's starting to damage my intestines. I messed up. I know I messed up. But also it has Ronus,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is
Infinite pump.
so
That
like
Ronus kill.
yeah, it feels like once this deck goes off, and he's like playing for Simian Spirit Guide too. So like he wants to like try and get this to go off as soon as possible.
You know what else this weekend's trying to do? Get Simian Spirit Guide banned.
That is also true.
Cool.
I feel there's a lot of little combos like this that people have like tried it a couple times. This one feels like it's got a lot of legs though, because as we mentioned before in the cast,
I mean, look how many creatures it's playing. Of course, it has all the legs.
there's no spiders though, so shut up. No, and there's an ooze too. Where's its legs, Morgan?
I mean, to be fair, Spellskite definitely has like 4 legs, so we're getting there.
All right,
we're
that's all right.
Close.
Some sort of crab monster.
It is. It's a horror.
That's true.
Yeah.
And Walking Ballista, I'm sure, has like a bunch of legs. But no, in all honesty, like I said, if you go Druid first, and you like, if they don't have the removals over the Druid and they just cast Vizier, then you don't get to interact anymore because they can just keep untapping it in response to your removal spells. So this deck feels really close to dangerous. Like it's still a creature-based combo. It still does just die to removal, but you gotta have it. And like even like Spellskite makes it a little tricky at times. So. But I thought it was cool to see it show up so quickly and see like Ronus making a immediate appearance, and then for Vizier Remedies, like just like you have a new standard set once again making an immediate appearance in Modern.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool.
You said you like these kind of decks. Do you like this
I
one?
do. I've been toying around with Devoted Vizier. I really like where my deck is right now, playing the combo with Renegade Rallier and Safi Eriksdotter. I like being able to play that alternate Infinite Scry combo more than I like this combo, because this deck is just dedicated to this combo. If it can't put the combo together, this deck doesn't win. Like, this is a 19 land count deck, no mana birds.
It has
It has
Hierarchs.
Noble.
Oh, it has nobles? Okay, I missed the nobles.
And to be fair, I mean, Druid is technically a
Druid is also
mana guy,
a mana
but-
dork as well, but it's a 2-drop. This feels more dedicated to the combo than I'm comfortable with. I like being able to play mid-range as well, which is why I like where my deck is right now.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Awesome. All right.
Although
That's
I'm
it.
totally going to earmark this deck and make
Yeah.
sure that
Put it on
I
the
sketch
back
this
burner.
down.
Put it on the back burner. So that is everything for our competitive segment. We don't have a special like in between segment beforehand. Dave's over here making Windows noises.
I'm just getting something queued up.
Oh,
Don't worry about it.
oh no.
Frosty
No.
the Vapeman. Oh,
No.
All right.
I was kind of hoping that's what it was.
Before we move into the wrap up and whatever Dave is preparing, I do want to give a shout out to our other sponsor of the show, BCW Supplies. They are a wonderful supplier of things we need to play the game at a competitive level: deck boxes, sleeves. If you want to trade, you got binders. They have a whole bunch of stuff on their website, which is just bcwsupplies.com. I do want to give a shout out to one of their products that I think is pretty unique and not something I've seen a lot. Is they actually have like a card sorter. It's like a card sorter tray. So if you have a lot of reasons to go through a bunch of your cards, sort them, if you're like opening boxes from Amon Ket or something like that, definitely something to look into and is really, really handy. And again, not something that I've seen very often.
I've almost
So-
bought this twice now, and I'm really close to pull. I have so
I
many
actually
cards
need
stacked
one.
in my office
Yeah.
right now where I'm just like, I need to pull the trigger on this.
I need one of those.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. I'm
Have
not gonna
used,
lie.
can confirm, is super nifty.
So definitely give them a look at their website bcwsupplies.com or on Facebook. You just do a search for BCW Supplies and they pop right up. So great sponsor of the show. Can't thank them enough. All right, Dave. Should I pass the mic over to you?
No, just go.
All right, cool. So in the wrap up,
I'm not even here.
I do want to give JP one more chance here as our guest and who we'd like to have on again, but maybe a little trickier, maybe require some I almost said vent.
Skype's a thing,
I literally
girls.
almost said vent. It's been a long time since people use Ventrilo.
I figured out what Dave's gonna do, but you can go on.
That's fair enough. I don't know if you maybe wanted to like say anything as like an exit or anything? Did you want a moment?
Not to put you on the spot.
I will be honest, I briefly considered doing a limited resources LSV style exit segment.
Oh, we can save that because he usually does the sign offs at the like the very end.
Right, he does.
You want to wait for that then?
Unfortunately, I have to pack and I have to get ready for my show this weekend, and I got to make sure the store looks decent before we have people in for Free Comic Day. So I've had no time to actually put anything together like that. The only thing I would like to say is I would like to thank the Columbus community for being as awesome as it has been for the past 3.5 years I've been living up here. When I moved up here in 2014, was not in the greatest headspace, was not in the greatest life situation. The gaming community, and to that extent, partly the Magic community, has just been really awesome and really supportive. So thank you to everybody in Columbus. I look forward to coming back, hopefully in the back half of the year. I don't know what SCG schedule is for the back half of the year, but usually they do 2 stops in Columbus during the year. If not, hopefully there will be a GP or other event in Ohio where I will be back to see y'all. And that's all I got. And there's Cleveland. I applied for Cleveland, but I don't know what my status is for Cleveland yet because I haven't found out if I'm accepted or not.
Well,
So
hope you get in because we want to be there. So.
I will just say
I really just want to go for Swenson's.
Wow.
I'm cutting you off, but that's why I want to go to GP Cleveland is because it's GP Swenson's.
GP Swenson's.
That's
Yes,
fair.
correct.
That's totally fair. I've created a monster, but I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it as well.
I just want to say that I think the Columbus Magic community will miss you, and you're the reason I'm a judge, and I think you're the reason a lot of people in Columbus are judges, and you really okay with just leaving us like this? That's just bad. No, I was kidding.
I'll be honest, I am okay leaving you guys like this because when I look at the
We're ready to
judges,
fly.
when I look at the judges who I've made as level 1s, and Lord's sake, one of the level 1s I made is a level 2 now, and that's really weird to think about. But when I look at the judge community that I've helped cultivate and develop with the other L2s in the area, I look at who's still going to be here when I'm gone. I'm just like, Columbus is still in a good place. I'm leaving this in a good place, and I'm leaving this in a place that's still going to grow and foster a good Magic community.
I think this is where we flash forward to like a burning city, like a burning cityscape 3 months forward. Like, this wouldn't have happened if we still had JP. Nah, that's awesome. We're happy for you. So
Yeah.
I just want to give you a moment. So now
Sure.
you can do your wrap up. Keep cutting me off. You know what do you got to do, Morgan?
JP, I just do want to say, like, from our cast, everyone on here, personally, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure, as always.
Not just tonight, but previously when you've shown up, and thank you for your insight. And we honestly wish you the best of luck in all of your endeavors that you choose to have. We couldn't, anything, getting a dream job couldn't happen to anyone, better suited for the job. So we know that you're going to do, great things at Star City Games, and we'll try to be just as harsh and negative about them as we always do. Nothing's going to change in that facet, but we'll just say sorry, JP, before we do it.
I think it's definitely bittersweet for all of us that you're leaving, but
Yeah.
wish the best of luck and everything going forward.
For sure.
Thanks so
So
much,
you'll
guys.
definitely be missed around here.
All right. So speaking of Star City Games, they have a GP over the weekend, GP Richmond. It's going to be Ammo Kent Limited. We also have GP. So I saw what GP it was, and I was like, oh, I know what Dave's doing. I've figured it out. I've solved his Bologna puzzle. GP Bologna and GP Beijing. GP Beijing. And they're all Ammo Kent Limited. Thank you to the internet for letting us know how to pronounce Bologna. It's very important.
I'm gonna yell at my wife now for waking her up, but it's too funny. It's too funny.
And so it's awesome. It's the first time we get to see, the whole limited format in full swing. Do we know if any of these are going to be broadcast at all? Because we may not see them in full swing if no one can watch them. I assume one of them is.
Pretty sure
but
Richmond.
Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, one of them is being broadcast, so we can watch this, and we should be more informed on our show. But we aren't. You know what you're getting into. I'm sorry, guys. And at the very least, you'll be able to hear about it if you follow a bunch of people on Twitter. There's probably text coverage, of course, so follow that as well, at the very least. But that's pretty much what is happening over the weekend. I know that Mike and I are going to be going out of town this weekend. Going to go see Hamilton. It's going to be pretty awesome.
Which cast are you guys seeing?
I'm not sure that on the actual cast. We were talking.
Are you going to New York or Chicago?
Chicago.
Okay. Chicago cast is good.
Sweet. That's all. I mean, I don't know what's bad, so very limited experience. Haven't really, participated in theater since high school, so they're better than me. That's all I know. So that's what we're going to be doing. No magic. Well, except the magic of stage, of course. But we'll be sure to come up with some interesting things for next week's show.
I feel like all I ever do is bring you to good food places, but you get to finally try Illuminati's.
I'm so. Are you kidding me? I love pizza.
Lou Malnati's, not Illuminati's.
No, this is the place.
Though it's so good, you would think the Illuminati was.
That's true. When we went to GB Chicago a couple years ago, we were like, we don't know where to go that's authentic, and I'm like, I'm gonna ask this Chicago police officer because he knows, and he's like, yeah, go to Illuminati's. And I was like, I'm listening to this man, and it changed my life. So we're going there now.
I'm excited. I cannot wait. So yeah, it's gonna be a good weekend for Mike and I. And I haven't been to Chicago since I was a child.
My wife's birthday. It's also my wife's birthday.
Oh man, just party time, excellent all the time.
She's turning 30.
I didn't say that.
I don't know. She might be okay or not. I don't know.
We'll figure it out, man. She seems pretty excited out of all of us.
That is true.
So
that is true.
But we'll be back next week. So until then, give us a shout out on the various ways to communicate with us on Facebook, on Twitter, via email. At your end step is pretty much a good way to find us on all of those. Also, download us on iTunes, on the Google Play Music Store, or via MTG Cast. Great place to, that's one of the places where you can download the Judge Cast that we talked about earlier, or any other podcast that you want to take a look at. We definitely like hearing all the feedback, stuff like that. Again, I think we're in the final stages of actually getting our Patreon together, which is something that is pretty exciting, and we hope that you guys are excited about it as well. We have a lot of interesting things to offer for that, so we just kind of have to hammer out the last bits of it, and we'll get that as soon as that's up and running. We will get it out to you as fast as possible. But that's pretty much everything that we have for this week. Again, JP, thank you so much for being on the show. Wish you the best of luck, and we'll be back next week for you. And you folks have a wonderful day. Bye.